Good evening and welcome to KiniNews. Pontian MP Ahmad Maslan, you heard about him in the news lately for being the government's sole candidate to fill the role of Deputy Dewan Rakyat Speaker. Well, this morning the High Court acquitted him on a charge of failing to declare money he received to the IRB.
The Kuala Lumpur High Court has acquitted and discharged Pontian MP Ahmad Maslan on charges of failing to declare 2 million ringgit, which he received from former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak, to the Inland Revenue Board and for giving false statements to the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. According to Bernama, the Deputy Public Prosecutor informed the court that the prosecution was withdrawing the two charges after Ahmad paid a compound of 1.1 million ringgit yesterday. DPP Muhammad Mukhzany Fariz Mokhtar confirmed that the accused will not be charged again with the same charges in the future. This is due to the fact that the accused had accepted the offer of compound and had settled the compound payment. Previously, Ahmad had claimed trial to a charge of failing to declare 2 million ringgit in his tax filing in 2013 over the income he received from Najib. The charge, framed under Section 4(1)(a) of the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 2001, provides a maximum fine of 5 million ringgit or imprisonment for up to 5 years or both. He was also charged of making false statements to the MACC on July 4, 2019.
So Ahmad Maslan decided to pay up on his 1.1 million ringgit compound. What is that anyway? Well, the MACC confirmed that it is actually a penalty for individuals who are charged with money laundering. However, according to Ahmad's lawyers, paying the fine is apparently not an admission of guilt. Now, before we get into the details of that, you can show your support first, and don't worry, you won't be fined for not declaring it. Click on the link in the description below to see how you can become a contributor so that we can continue to ask the questions that matter and keep our leaders accountable.
The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, or MACC, has clarified that the 1.1 million ringgit compound paid by Pontian MP Ahmad Maslan was a penalty. In a statement today, they said the compound payment was a form of punitive action taken against individuals charged with money laundering. They added that it was also a form of asset recovery under the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 2001. According to the MACC, Ahmad had been offered a similar settlement in October 2019 but refused to pay and chose to claim trial. After that, he made several representations to the authorities through his lawyers during the course of his trial before subsequently agreeing to a compound payment after he was charged with money laundering on January 20th, 2020. The High Court in Kuala Lumpur had acquitted and discharged Ahmad on charges of failing to declare 2 million ringgit which he received from Najib to the IRB and giving false statements to the MACC this morning. The prosecution withdrew the charges after Ahmad paid a compound of 1.1 million ringgit yesterday. Meanwhile, according to his lawyers, Ahmad can still contest in the next elections despite the penalty. They said they had written to the Election Commission and received the reply that it would not jeopardize his eligibility as an MP and he will not be disqualified from contesting a parliamentary seat in the upcoming elections as it is not a court fine. They added that the positive response led to the decision that payment of the compound is the best solution for the case against him. They added that the payment of the fine was not an admission of guilt.
The government's latest decision to appeal the court ruling that will allow both Malaysian mothers and fathers to confer their citizenship to their children born overseas has courted flack from both sides, and now a government lawmaker is not letting them off the hook either.
Pengarang MP Azalina Othman Said has criticised the government's move to appeal against a decision on granting automatic citizenship to children born abroad to Malaysian women married to foreign spouses. In her speech, while debating the Trust Malaysia plan, she reiterated a call for the government to ensure equality in citizenship rights for parents.
Saya tak tahu apa ruginya Tuan Yang Pertua. Kedua, kalau kita nak berlaku adil, saya nak cakap pada Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri dan juga sahabat-sahabat menteri, berlakulah adil kepada semua. Kalau ibu tak dapat, bapa pun jangan bagi. Kenapa ibu tak boleh, bapa boleh? Ini saya tak faham. Seolah-olah wanita di Malaysia ni adakah banyak kurangnya daripada lelaki di Malaysia? Terpulanglah kepada kerajaan untuk jawab.
Previously, Home Minister Hamzah Zainuddin had said that the government was appealing the court decision as there was a different court ruling on a previous case that sided with the government. He said an appeal was necessary to avoid contempt of court while upholding the federal constitution. He added that the government is exploring the possibility of amending the constitution, which would require assent from the Conference of Rulers.
The 12th Malaysia Plan was tabled by the government on Monday, and it hopes to make Malaysia a high-tech, high-income country by 2025. That means we have just 4 years to achieve that goal. So the UMNO Deputy President wants to know how this epic plan is going to be funded.
UMNO Deputy President Muhammad Hassan has urged the government to explain how the newly unveiled 12th Malaysia Plan, or 12MP, will be funded. In a post on Facebook, he said there was only 4 years to implement the plan, and a good plan will only produce the best impact with sustainable funding. He added that in a situation where the country's revenue has been severely affected by the pandemic and growth has been stunted over the past 2 years, the success of 12MP is highly dependent on its funding, and transparency on how it will be funded will make the plan not only realistic but feasible. In a statement, the Rantau Assembly person also offered several observations that could be taken into account by the government. Among others, he commented on the healthcare aspect of the plan, which critics had previously said were underwhelming. Muhammad said, in terms of healthcare, the modernization of the country's health sector should go beyond physical infrastructure investment, which includes the construction of more hospitals as well as upgrading the quality of national hospitals. In addition to this, he said, the government needs to allocate more funds to increase specialist training, introduce a sustainable health financing system, enable various kinds of medical research, and intensify disease prevention strategies. He said, ultimately, the health sector should be the basis of priority in every national planning and budget, as the well-being of Malaysian families will only be realised when the health of its citizens become a national priority. Prime Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob tabled the 12th Malaysia Plan in the Dewan Rakyat on 27 September. Ismail had announced that the government will allocate 400 billion ringgit for existing and new development projects. The 12MP is expected to make Malaysia a high-income and high-tech country by 2025, with a plan of outlining the country's policy direction for the next 5 years.
Nama saya Nur Hadi binti Abdul Razak. Anak saya Saswani binti Besa, umur 19 tahun. Dia ada penyakit kencing manis. Baru sebulan je. Lepas 2 minggu dia rasa mata dia boleh nampak sikit lah. Mungkin gula dia ada kawal dendam. Mata dia boleh nampak, kalau gula tinggi dia macam kabur sikit. Dulu dia insulin kan. Ubat dia kita kena 14 unit, 12 unit. Sekarang ni kalau injek 8 unit, ada 9 unit, ada 10 unit. Kita kira makanan dia macam mana. Dia minum discharged, tak injek banyak.
Still on the 12th Malaysia Plan, a group of lawyers aren't quite happy with the government's intention to just review and amend some controversial laws, and instead, they want the laws to be repealed altogether.
A lawyers group has responded to the government's intention to review and amend a number of laws to ensure they are still relevant and effective in improving public safety and security under the 12th Malaysia Plan. In a statement today, Lawyers of Liberty, or LFL, said the laws include notoriously draconian ones such as the Prevention of Crime Act, or POCA 1959, Security Offences or Special Measures Act, also known as SOSMA 2012, Prevention of Terrorism Act, also known as POTA 2015, as well as the Penal Code 1957. LFL coordinator Zaid Malik said, these laws have consistently proven to be oppressive and a mockery of the country's justice system. This is because they allow for detention without trial, disregard of natural justice, and arbitrary and excessive limitation of fundamental liberties guaranteed under the Federal Constitution. He added that they were therefore appalled at the government's plans to fortify them under the guise of improving public safety and security. He said laws that are bad in substance cannot be improved, but must be repealed. And if the aim of the 12MP is to truly build a more tolerant society and to achieve higher trust in our institutions, then the government must do away with laws that transgress protection of fundamental liberties. Zayed instead urged the government to redirect efforts to improving accountability of enforcement authorities and upholding the rights guaranteed under the Constitution.
And now an update on the latest COVID-19 situation in Malaysia.
The Health Ministry reported 12,434 new cases of COVID-19 today. Sarawak remained the state with the highest number of new infections with 2,967 cases. This was followed by Selangor with 1,362 cases, Johor with 1,289 cases, and Kelantan with 1,125 new cases. 3 states reported 2-digit or less cases, namely Perlis with 79 cases, Putrajaya with 18, and Labuan with 5 cases. As of yesterday, the R0 for Malaysia dropped to 0.88, the lowest this month so far, which suggests that the spread of COVID-19 was decelerating. Meanwhile, the Health Ministry's GitHub data repository reported a total of 240 COVID-19 fatalities yesterday, bringing the cumulative death toll to 25,935. The daily reported deaths have been above 200 for 5 consecutive days. From the newly reported deaths yesterday, 71 died before they could be brought to the hospital for treatment.
That's a wrap for Kini News this evening. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also get the latest headlines by following us on our social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. If you would like to consider supporting the independent media, please do consider a subscription to MalaysiaKini.com. If you're heading out, please don't forget your mask, and when you can, do try to stay home. I'm Daniel Anthony. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay safe, Malaysia.